Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we do not intend for it to be long. Nonetheless, we do want to get this out to the people for reference and for edification purposes. We hope you all are well and that you all will be better. We ask you all to comment, to like, and to share, brothers and sisters, the presentation. This will be a series referred to as History Not for the Novice. And in this, what we intend on doing, brothers and sisters, is to talk about 12 presidents who are honored in ownership. Now, I worded it a certain way on the flyer, brothers and sisters, to have it to be known what I mean by ownership is not necessarily the best thing. We're going to go over in this series, which is intended to be a 12 video matter as the days and the weeks go along, about presidents, congressmen, senators, politicians, if you will, who were involved within the said slave trade matter, within the enslavement of our people. As our people are into the mindset of talking about our history, in quote, Juneteenth, and so forth and so on, we want to respectfully use that same time to bring the history to our brothers and sisters. On this channel, More Yeshaya History Lessons and More Yeshaya History Lessons 2, we've gone over extensively concerning the history of the Israelites. We've gone over the reason on why we say we are Israelites. And for those who are interested, there is a Juneteenth sale currently in effect on the history books, which were normally $30, are now $20 from yesterday, July 19th, all the way until, pardon me, yesterday, June 19th, all the way until, brothers and sisters, June 30th, which is Friday after next. So, without any further ado, we ask you all who are listening, either now or in the future, to get your pens, your pads, your paper, and to take notes. And as a new term that I have, you can take the presentations to the bank. What I mean by that is it is thoroughly researched and cited. I have looked over the information and looked it over again. And it's not to say that nowhere in the 7 years of teaching online, and that is to say nowhere in the 6-7 years of having published my first book, that there wasn't a mistake here or there, whether in spelling or whether in a date of something that was given. Nonetheless, brothers and sisters, I am open to constructive criticism. And I hope and pray that you all are well and will be better. Let us pull up, brothers and sisters, in this particular matter, to share screen. All right? And we're going to deal with a PowerPoint here. And each of these PowerPoints in these series of post-memorial presentations, History Not for the Novice, is, brothers and sisters, dedicated to our people's enlightenment. So again, brothers and sisters, without any further ado, let us get started. Thank you for that. Shalom, giving honor to the Creator of heaven and earth. This presentation is based on honoring 12 presidents on ownership. While some may wonder the genre's position, we at Day Night Publications ask you all to get your pens, your pads, paper, and take notes. Let us continue in this manner. This is going to be a series of lessons based on the presidents who are from the time of Washington to Grant. They owned slaves. They are honored in the society we are in the name of streets, schools, and so on. We want to point out that a governor stated slavery is the cornerstone of our Republican edifice. We ask you all to subscribe to the channel. I do not prefer to ask for donations, but rather I ask to you all to buy the books a brother has written. So I want to state that yes, I will and have say, okay, here's my cash app for those who care to donate. But I prefer that if people are going to use their hard-earned money, that they don't donate per se, but rather buy material that a brother has put out, so that way you can actually see something in your hand for the money that you put your hands to work for. That is my stance on that. Happy post-Memorial Day. Let us go over 12 presidents who are honored. History, not for the Nova series. Over 12 presidents who are honored. History, not for the Nova series. Channel, More Yeshaya History Lessons. Also, More Yeshaya History Lessons 2. From Washington to Grant. Over 100 years of ownership memorialized. Reach Yeshaya at WhatsApp 908-587-4841 or care to donate at Cash App $FrankSon1 $FRANKSSON the number 1. All right. If one cares to buy a book, they can also do it through the Cash App, brothers and sisters. To date, and it is intended forever, that nobody can say that they paid a brother for a book and didn't get the book. All right. So that's something we definitely want to point out for reference purposes, brothers and sisters. Again, we hope everyone is well and will be better. Get your pens, your pads, your paper, and let's take notes. Let's go on. Notes. Washington had slaves by age 11. Born in 1732, he passed away in 1799. He was first a general in the army that fought against the British in the Revolutionary War, though some credit him as a, quote, nice person, and that at his death he freed they who were his slaves. He was also known for the following. Some of the slaves of George Washington by name: Jack, Cleo, Gregory, Hannah and a child, Will, Charles, Judy and a child, Adam, Frank. Whom you see right there in the picture is George Washington, and the person you see with him is a black person. That is one, brothers and sisters, of his servants or slaves, if you want to be quite candid in that particular case. So while he is respected as, quote, the first president, he was definitely also a slave master. And there is no such thing in reality as a nice slave master, brothers and sisters. Let's go on. Washington sold Tom and Jack for rum and wine. On July 2nd, 1766, the schooner Swift lay anchored in the Potomac River, awaiting a trading voyage to the Caribbean. Let's stop right there. The Potomac River is as you go by Virginia in the Maryland area, brothers and sisters, awaiting a trading voyage to the Caribbean. Below deck, an enslaved man named Tom sat in handcuffs. Tom had been inherited by Washington from his elder half brother Lawrence in 1754. So, what can we gather? 1754, this person, Tom, that was in a slave ship called Swift. When it says schooner, that's what that's talking about. From 1754, having already been an enslaved person, he was resold in 1766. That's 12 years a slave, no pun intended, brothers and sisters, and then some. 12 years later, the enslaved man made a failed attempt to flee the plantation. In a letter to Joseph Thompson, captain of the Swift, Washington declared Tom a rogue and a runaway, and directed that he should be sold in the West Indies. Washington commented that Tom was exceedingly healthy, strong, and good at the hoe, that is to say, the tool that was used. And he may sell well if kept clean and trimmed up a little. So, brothers and sisters, what are we looking at in this particular case? It says that this person that was in handcuffs inside of a slave ship called, or schooner called the Swift, by the Potomac River, voyaged to the Caribbean. So again, we cannot try to change up a narrative of the Black American and the Black West Indian. They traded our ancestors, brothers and sisters, between the Caribbean and the mainland here of the United States. So in light of that, while we walk around today with names such as Gordon, Hutchinson, Clark, Brown, Stevens, Washington, and others, let us not, brothers and sisters, view ourselves through the eyes of those who are the descendants or the ancestors of those who enslaved us. Let's go on. This is Bushrod, Washington. The slaves that Washington had, along his wife, Martha, were to be freed after their deaths. Washington died in 1799, Martha in 1802. Washington, that's to say George Washington, had 317 slaves. So we already see that he, quote, inherited slaves from his older brother, or older half brother, as they try to say, right? And we also see here that he had 317 and was into the trading of our people between the West Indies and the mainland of the United States. The gentleman you see there on the right, Bushrod, who was part of the Supreme Court, sold 20 of the slaves in claimant of taxes on the estate. The same in 1822, meaning the same person, in 1822, which is 20 years after his Aunt Martha's death. Sold 54 of his slaves for $10,000, which today in 2023 is over $250,000 today. So Washington, his older brother Lawrence, and his nephew Bushrod were all into the business of selling our people, brothers and sisters. And it went all the way from the 18th century right into, well, into the 19th century. What can we gather from this? That these people, this one here shown in a picture being part of the Supreme Court, was the relative of the first president of the United States. And they all were in cahoots in this particular case. So the people who were supposed to have been freed after George and Martha's death were in part still enslaved. So the will, in many cases, was not actually honored when we look upon it. Let's go on. This is due Thomas. Washington, therefore, could not consistently oppose slavery as a wrong to the slave, nor consciously, believe it to be wrong, because he would not oppose that which he could not overcome. It is against the prophetic character of Washington's mission, ever crowned with success. The emancipation of the slaves is wrong itself, and impossible, even if right. So what is being pointed out there? That the emancipation of the slave, even if it's the right thing to do, Washington, according to Due Thomas, could not do it. This person here was a person who was an advocate, brothers and sisters, for the slave trade in the 1800s or in the 19th century. So he cited the first president's character and actions, where he was saying that Washington, while in support of slavery, being one of the people who sat at the convention with the Constitution and so forth and so on, could not oppose slavery as wrong to the slave while engaging in what he was engaging in. So these are things that we want to point out for reference purposes. Next slide, please. Notes. George Washington felt that the House, speaking on the matter of slavery, was a waste of time in today's language. In other words, basically saying, oh boy, here we go with the whole thing with the matter of slavery. Just let it move on with the ownership matter and so forth. George Washington, being the first president of the United States in 1789, knew that the Constitution was not against people having slaves and that they were referred to as property. And this is why when we go over later with the matter with Johnson, who was the successor to Lincoln, it became a situation of how could morally one sit there and do this Emancipation Proclamation matter when the Constitution allowed people to, quote, have them as slaves by the usage of the terminology property. The first slave auction in Washington, that is to say Washington the place, took place in 1794. The slave dealer was Edward Burroughs. He, in his advertisement, stated that he'll have 3 males aged 10, 13, and 19, 3 females aged 12, 15, and 17. This shows that children were sold in a place that will come to bear the name of Washington. Why do we want to point that out, brothers and sisters? Is this. Children were sold. Some of those 317 slaves that Washington had were children. We went over earlier about 2 of their mothers, one being Hannah, the other being Judy. Of course, we know that the people were given names by the slave masters and so forth. But brothers and sisters, the oppression that happened with us as a people, and while our people are talking about Juneteenth and things of that kind of nature, it's something that we definitely want to never have it dropped. Nor, sidebar, brothers and sisters, do we want to have it to where our people are being misrepresented by criminals. Black people, brothers and sisters. It is not right to do wrong one unto another. That leads to the second sidebar, if you will. I am fully aware, and it's not to sound arrogant, that Juneteenth matter was not known to all black people at that time, as the situation with the matter in June in Galveston, Texas in 1865. And that in some places, slavery, as it was known, continued sadly after the year 1900 in some places. That does not take away from the fact that we do not respect what our people were told, respected, understood, and so forth. Israel, as pointed out before. Not all Israelites knew of Hanukkah with the matter of the Maccabees. Due to the scattering of the people, the information was not always stated in that particular matter. The Israelites that was fighting against the army of Trajan, it may have not been known while they was fighting in Libya there to the Israelites in Ethiopia. To the matter with Queen Kahina, who was fighting against the invasion of the Arabs and saying, put the Lion of Judah first, may have not been known to the Israelites that were scattered in southern Africa. So just because, brothers and sisters, not all the people were affected by it, and not because not all the people, brothers and sisters, knew about it, does not mean that we should not respect what our people do have. We need to get more, say, into the nationalism aspect and so forth and so on. So no, I do not quote knock the understanding, the observation of what is referred to as Juneteenth, brothers and sisters. So let that be noted. Some people could say it's been commercialized. Well, we are Israelites. Hanukkah, to a certain extent, was commercialized. And Hanukkah was created by a man's observation, if we will. You understand? Purim was created, brothers and sisters, by males, by people, by women. You understand? And we can say that was commercialized. See, what it boils down to in a nutshell is you have some who are productive and some who are speakers. And then you have some who are orators. And then you have some that are creators. And what I mean by that is there is distinction between the two. Malcolm X, may he rest in peace, spoke upon the matter of whom they set up as leaders, be they now resting in peace, Dick Gregory or Lena Horne or so forth and so on. You allow a speaker to become the leader. You allow an entertainer become the leader. And that is a problem. You understand? Let us continue and close out in this particular matter. Books that have more information on the subject we addressed. I can be reached at 908-587-4841. That is 908-587-4841. These are two of the three books that are discounted. Deuteronomy 28, History Untold to the Masses. You can get that book by typing in that name or by typing in my author name, Vincent Hutchinson, as you see there, and it will pull up on Amazon and is discounted for $20 until June 30th instead of $30. Okay, next part in closing out. We present this information to the people in hopes that people will gain and receive the information. We here at Day and Night Publications do not claim to know everything, and we are open to constructive criticism. We are conducting a book sale for those who are interested. The books, which are normally $30, are now $20 from today, which was then yesterday, June 19th, until June 30th. We can be reached at 908-587-4841. Have a good day and a better week. Please subscribe to the channel. So thus ends this particular matter in the presentation. We hope you all enjoyed it. Comment, like, and share. Have a good day and a better week. Most High bless. Shalom.